Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. It is time now for the War on Gaza report. That's right. Every single day here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we give you a live report from the war on Gaza. That's right. The war on Gaza, not the war in Gaza, not the war on terrorism, but the war against the Palestinian people that has been prosecuted in the Gaza Strip. This is a genocidal project that has absolutely turned into a full-fledged war on the most vulnerable people. And the fact that this has gone on for day after day after day is only further testimony to the point that we're making. And right now we are on day 249 of Israel's war on Gaza. We begin, as we always do, with the numbers. As of today, at least 37,164 people, Palestinian people, have been killed. 84,832 have been wounded. Those numbers are stunning, and they'll never not be stunning. 37,164 dead, 84,832 have been wounded. This is likely a conservative estimate, considering the fact that there are 8,000 people who lay under the rubble, officially uncounted, not to mention all the people who have been harmed, wounded, maimed, and haven't had access to medical care, haven't had that put on the official registry. And once again, as always, despite the fact that people will tell you you can't trust Palestinian death numbers, you can't trust Palestinian injury numbers, the Gazan Health Ministry has yet to be proven false in this regard. They historically have operated within 4% of Israel's numbers, within 4% of the international community's numbers. There's no reason not to believe these numbers, except for willful ignorance. Hamas, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad organization, as well as Hamas. I'm not saying they're the same. Let me say that again. Two people, Hamas on the one hand and Palestinian Islamic Jihad on the other, have said in a joint statement that they have submitted a response to a ceasefire proposal to mediators. This is an important step forward. Again, as the world says that Hamas is not playing ball, that the other affiliated groups are not playing ball, this is another piece of evidence to suggest that they are willing to engage. And as Hamas has said, they're only willing to negotiate to the extent that it advances and supports their ideals and their struggle for national freedom. Calling the conditions in Gaza deplorable, UN Chief Antonio Guterres tells Israel and Hamas to come to an agreement on a ceasefire proposal that was outlined late last month by the United States. So again, the UN is at a point where they're saying this is simply unlivable conditions. We have to come up with something. The unlivability of these conditions is exacerbated by the fact that the death rate continues to stay steady. The death numbers continue to escalate. Israeli attacks have killed 40 Palestinians, and they've wounded 120 Palestinians in the latest 24-hour casualty reporting period. So just in 24 hours, 40 and 120 dead and wounded. These types of numbers are disturbing for one night. But the fact that this has been the consistent number, I've done this report almost 250 days, and I never had a day where I said, you know what, no one has passed. No one has been killed. No one has been injured. That's not a coincidence. Anyway, Hamas has agreed to a ceasefire resolution adopted by the UN Security Council, according to senior Hamas official Sami Abu Luhri. He told Reuters that earlier. The idea that Hamas and the Islamic Jihad organizations are on board for a ceasefire is a big deal. Now, Israel, on the other hand, has been somewhat less clear about their position on the UN Security Council resolution that the U.S. sponsored. Again, nothing gets through the UNSC unless America's down with it, because they always can exercise their veto power as a permanent member of the Security Council. This is a complicated dynamic here, because Hamas is dealing with mediators, whether it's Qatar, whether it's Egypt, whether it's the United States, who haven't been even or fair brokers. And so they're forced to deal with this while simultaneously try to figure out how they can protect the lives and the health and the future of the people they ostensibly represent. This is messy and complicated. And for a long time, Hamas was very reluctant to engage in anything, and certainly refused to engage in anything until it was written. But now that there's a written proposal, now that they've given a response, we should be encouraged. But the devil's in the details. Is Israel going to fully withdraw? Are they going to pull completely out from Gaza, including the Rafah crossing, including the Eretz crossing? This is the question. Are they committed to no longer intervening? Because if they don't, all Israel has to do is close the crossing. All Israel has to do is impose a siege. All Israel has to do is strike. So unless the commitment is long-term and unconditional, Hamas is likely going to say this isn't safe for us. Israel is going to say, well, we need a commitment that Hamas is gone. That ain't going to happen. Hamas is not going to walk out of the Gaza Strip. And even if they did, what does that mean when there's so much support, when there's so much anger toward Israel, rightfully so, because of the genocidal attack? Because of all of this happening, it's not very clear what a way forward looks like if Israel's non-starter is that Hamas is no longer in control of the Gaza Strip, if they demand an election, or even worse, demand that leadership comes in on the back of an Israeli tank. That is going to be another non-starter. So at a moment where Egypt and Qatar have said they've received a response from Hamas, at a moment where the United States has now confirmed that they've received a response from Hamas, the question now is, what does that response look like? All right. A Berlin court has rejected an urgent request by Palestinian residents to halt the German government's export of weapons to Israel on the grounds that they might be used in violation of humanitarian law. The court said that the Palestinian plaintiffs had not shown that decisions on arms exports to Israel were actually pending, as Germany had abstained from issuing any this year, or that Germany was likely to permit exports in violation of international humanitarian law. Of course, Palestinians are arguing the opposite. They're saying there's legitimate reasons to believe that they could be doing that. The court's ruling is somewhat puzzling. Just last year alone, Germany sent $354 million in weapons, arms exports to be precise, to Israel. That's 10 times what they did just 2 years, the year prior. In light of that, and in light of the devastating violence we've seen, it would seem reasonable for a court to say, just stop sending them weapons. But no, that would be too much like right, as my grandmama would say. And now they have the backing of the court. And so Germany becomes another source of sort of recalcitrance when it comes to weapons funding of Israel, similar to the United States, which for like 2 days was like, we're not sending anything as long as Rafah is a target. And then just like that, it was gone. Also going on in the West Bank is that the town of Kufr Dan, which is near Jenin, which is the northern part of the West Bank, there's been an Israeli army raid that has resulted in 6 people being killed. We'll keep you posted on what's going on in Jenin, but it's important to always remember that what's happening in the West Bank is not divorced from what's happening in Gaza. It's happening everywhere, and settlers are emboldened. Settler raids are increasing. Settlement expansion is expedited, all because of the drama happening, the genocidal war, to be specific, that's happening in Gaza. So be mindful of what's happening in Gaza at all times, but don't ignore the West Bank. Anyway, that is today's War on Gaza report. To get more information like this, just stay tuned right here. Hit the like button so the algorithms know that you're rocking with us. Hit the subscribe button, and if you're so inclined, hit the join button and become a monthly subscriber to the channel. Right here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we give you coverage on everything going on in Gaza, but also we give you coverage on everything going on around the world. Until soon, see you later. Peace.